Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Kevin, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Please excuse me and let me now welcome Dr. Kevin on behalf of you and in behalf of the Regional Center for Space Science and Technology Education for Western Asia, and also the Arab Union for Astronomy and Space Science, with cooperation with many organizations as National Authority for Remote Sensing and Space Science Egypt, SCAS, Sharjah Authority for Remote Sensing and Space Science, and so many names as listed in the slide. Dr. Kevin, you are welcome, and really we are waiting your lecture, and to brief the historical background about Dr. Kevin. He worked at the IAU Office for Astronomy, OAD, in 2011, and he was the first director from that time. And then in March, he was coming from an experimental nuclear physics background and with experience from many community development initiatives in post-apartheid South Africa. Kevin was previously named one of the Mail and Guardian's top 200 young South Africans and received the National Science and Technology Forum Science Communicator Award in 2011. In March 2016, Kevin was jointly awarded the Edinburgh Medal together with the IAU for the creation and practical establishment of the Office of Astronomy for Development, which integrates the pursuit of scientific knowledge with social development for and with those most in need. To be frankly with you, Kevin played a very important role to support the establishment of the Arab OAD and to be hosted in Jordan. And now, actually, we are feeling proud that he is leading as a director of OAD, which is affiliated to IAU, and so many activities, since he is also not only the director of OAD, also he is a member of the Arab OAD. He is very active in so many astronomical activities in all the world. He visited Jordan 3 times, and also always he is supporting us and making us enthusiastic to work for the benefit of astronomy, especially for the outreach. Let's today have the good lecture about and presentation from Kevin, and really we feel that it's the time now to know about the astronomy for development in the COVID-19 era, and you are welcome again on behalf of all attendees here in this actually important presentation, and you are welcome. Please, Dr. Kevin, you can start. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ami. I'll just share my screen.
We are hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can everybody see the slide?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to run through. Let me first start by acknowledging. I want to say thank you very much to Dr. Auni and to the Arab Group for allowing me this opportunity. This is a very important region for us at the OED, and I think we've always been impressed by the amount of it in the region. I'm going to run through today to give you an overview of Astronomy for Development, how this office has evolved over time, and so you'll get a broad picture of where we are at the OED, and then I'm going to zone in on what the current COVID-19 pandemic means for Astronomy for Development, and how we are trying to address this. So, what is Astronomy for Development? Now, can I just ask, can you see only my slide, or do you see the little Zoom icon at the bottom as well? Maybe I'll just take this out just in case. Okay. Moved it to the side. Hopefully you see that.
Yeah, we see your slides.
Okay, great. So what is Astronomy for Development? So we started off as an idea within the International Astronomical Union. So I'm going to use my mouse. I hope you can see my mouse pointer. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we basically started as an idea of the International Astronomical Union. They formed a partnership with the National Research Foundation and the South African government, the Department of Science and Innovation, to make this office a reality. But this idea of Astronomy for Development really started out from this simple picture. It's the idea that astronomy has various different aspects. There's the technology and skills aspects, where you talk about optics, big data, electronics. That's a whole side of astronomy. Then there's the science and research part. The fact that astronomy is a science that requires different disciplines in order to explore the universe. And then there's this important link to culture and society, where astronomy is something that appeals to all cultures, all societies around the world, whether it is through traditional understandings of the meaning of stars and the moon, the sun, and so on, to the modern technology that we have to explore the universe. Now, having a field that links the technology and skills with the science and research and the culture and society as well, the question was asked at the IAU is, how do we try to bring together all these to have as big an impact on society as possible? Now, when we talk about astronomy for development, we have a basic understanding of what astronomy is, but what is development? These are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. These goals are the closest we get to sort of a universal definition of development. Now, I'm just going to keep an eye on the time. Now, with trying to say, one definition of what development is virtually impossible. These Sustainable Development Goals, which followed on the Millennium Development Goals, are the closest we have to a global agreement on what development means and what our goals should be. And so the OAD has taken on these goals, and we have looked at how can astronomy impact on these goals. So whether we're talking about astrotourism or capacity building workshops or light pollution community programs, there are different activities involving astronomy that will impact on various different sustainable development goals. And this is the principle of how the OAD operates. We take all aspects of astronomy and we try to see how they can basically make the world a better place, to develop society. But we must acknowledge that astronomy is not the only science that contributes to the Sustainable Development Goals. At the bottom here, you see all the symbols for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Now, at the top, we have astronomy, but astronomy, the way we look at it is that astronomy is just one of many different sciences, whether it's physics, biology, but also social sciences like anthropology, psychology. All these different sciences, natural sciences and social sciences, they all have different tools. So these different disciplines have different tools, whether it's big data, coding skills, understanding behavior change, outreach communities. Now, some of these tools overlap. Astronomy, physics, biology, they all have big data skills, big data tools. And if we take all these tools from the different sciences and we use them to develop specific actions or research areas where, for example, data skills workshops, research on group bias, communicating science, we can use the tools from different sciences to develop these actions, and those actions will respond to various different sustainable development goals. And this is the principle of, it's the idea that astronomy is not in itself a silver bullet. Astronomy is not going to be the one thing that fixes everything. We have to work in conjunction with other sciences. And so our initiatives have also gone hand in hand with other sciences. This event that took place earlier this year that Dr. Auni had attended in Cape Town was in partnership with the International Science Council's Regional Office for Africa. Now, the International Science Council is basically the global body that incorporates natural sciences, social sciences. The IAU itself, the International Astronomical Union, is a member of the International Science Council. And we brought together many different partners from different sciences, whether it's social sciences, science academies, development economics, space sciences, universities. We brought together different groups to look at how we all together can contribute to development. And this is basically our approach, is that astronomy will play a role, but we see ourselves as part of a bigger picture. So to run briefly through the history of the OAD, there was a strategic plan developed by the IAU that was ratified in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in 2009. This was followed by an open call to host the OAD, and South Africa was selected in 2010, and the OAD was launched in 2011. In December 2011, we brought together stakeholders from around the world to Cape Town to plan the way forward for this Office of Astronomy for Development. Initially, we had 3 task forces focusing on 3 target groups: universities, children in schools, and public. But now this is open. We don't have any specific groups anymore that we focus on, because we acknowledge that the targets may be broader. It may be industry, it may be non-profit organization, it may be government. So currently we don't restrict it to any particular group. There have been 11 regional offices set up since 2012. These offices are all around the world. I'll show you an image of that later. And we coordinate through quarterly telecons, face-to-face meetings, and a combined business plan. We also have partnerships established with relevant organizations. We started in 2012 an open call for proposals, and each year since then we have enhanced that call based on the feedback. We now have a two-stage call with regional input. We have an online course for project proposals, a database of resources, as well as some initial stages of impact assessment of these projects. In 2015, the OAD was reviewed, and the agreement between the IAU, the International Astronomical Union, and the South African government was renewed until 2021. So this year we are due for another review. In 2019, we introduced the idea of flagship projects based on our experience thus far, and I'll speak a little bit about that. And then, of course, the big thing in 2020 is we are faced with this global pandemic, which I'll talk about in terms of how we respond to this. Now, the regional offices of the OAD, these were established since 2012, and over the years there have been 11 offices established. The idea with each of these offices is that they would focus on one particular region, either a geographic region covering maybe certain countries in a region, let's say for example East Africa, or a language region. For example, in Portugal there's an office that looks at Portuguese-speaking countries globally. Of course, in Jordan there's the Arab world and Arabic language office, which is a joint regional office and language center. Now, these regions we rely on to understand the local environments and to inform our activities. It works in both ways. Each region would contribute their knowledge into a global knowledge base, as well as learn from other regions in the world. Can I just ask a quick question? Do you see me as well, or do you only see my slides?
We see you both.
Ah, okay, okay. So if I move my hands, then there are people that can see me. I was wondering whether I was just moving my hands, but no one saw me.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the regional offices. This is one key part of our activity. The next key part is the partnerships. So we've established several partnerships with different organizations. These range from astronomical organizations like the Royal Astronomical Society to development economics organizations like RESEP, the Research on Socioeconomic Policy, to social science organizations like the Human Science Research Council, and the Space Generation Advisory Council, which is part of the space community. Now, the idea with partnerships is that we find organizations, individuals that share the common vision of using astronomy and using space for development, and we look at ways in which we can work together. Now, our big activity over the years has been this open call for proposals that I mentioned. This is funded by the International Astronomical Union, around 100,000 euro per year. And over the years, we've funded projects to the value of 851,000 euro. There's been over 1,000 applications, and we funded 159 projects in over 90 countries. Now, these projects are not necessarily large projects. The average funding is a few thousand euro per project, and the funding is meant to try to stimulate other sources of funding and to provide a seed funding so that projects can get off the ground. These projects have varied across the world. They've been implemented. You know, some countries have won more funding than other countries, but effectively we've funded projects in almost all parts of the world. This map shows the countries targeted by OAD projects in from 2013 to 2019. So these are like when the project sends a proposal, they say which region they will target. Now, what types of projects did we fund? There are various activities ranging from capacity building activities such as schools, workshops, teacher training, outreach, which respond to the SDG on quality education. There's been activities targeted at underrepresented groups. There have been activities that relate to astrotourism and creating new livelihoods. And so the call each year is really open, and we look for new ideas and innovative ways of using astronomy to impact on development. Now, I put in a few slides. So my colleague Ram, who I had in the introduction slide, who's in charge of our projects, several of these slides come from him, and it's sort of to give you an idea of the different types of projects. So firstly, astrotourism, or using astronomy for economic development. There's a project in Southwest Asia, there's a project in India, both dealing with astrotourism and using the stars to stimulate local economy. There was astronomy for diplomacy, a project that looked at using astronomy to stimulate peace, astronomy to reduce inequalities. So several projects dealt with gender equality. Also projects looking at regions or areas like the favelas in Rio, which are not otherwise reached. There was so these are projects that look at using astronomy to bridge the inequality gap. Then projects targeting refugee communities or indigenous groups. There were several projects in Algeria, Nigeria, Canada, Zambia. Projects for capacity building. So this is one of the more common ones where we use the skills from astronomy to teach skills like coding and big skills. We've even had using astronomy for literacy in Sierra Leone, excitement of astronomy to teach reading. Outreach to underrepresented groups. So there are several projects that look at taking astronomy and STEM activities to areas, parts of the world that are not otherwise reached by other activities. We've had inclusion projects. So these are projects that look at accessibility of astronomy. So so astronomy kit for the visually impaired. So how does one teach astronomy or science to blind people? There was one targeting sign language, and these projects look at, you know, taking a field of astronomy and trying to use it to stimulate education abilities. Last slide on projects. So there were several astronomy workshops. So trying to stimulate astronomy interest, and in that way STEM education, physics education at universities. There were projects dealing with instrument or infrastructure support. So where people proposed to build infrastructure with the funds to support activities in their region. And then research support or exchange programs. This is at university level, trying to encourage cross-border collaboration in astronomy. So these are examples. I see there's one more slide. So there's projects on art and astronomy, media, communication, as well as teacher training. So on our website, we have all information about the projects can be found on the OAD website. So a summary of where these projects have touched the Sustainable Development Goals. So my colleague Ram has gone through the projects and looked at which are the SDGs influenced by the different projects. And you can see that quality education is one of the main ones, reduce inequalities, partnerships, gender equality, and then it goes down fewer and fewer projects dealing with other SDGs. But every year, we leave it open for people to come up with new ways that that astronomy can impact on the different SDGs. Not all 17 SDGs have been touched by our project so far. If you're interested in resources, so you'll find on our website a link to a database of resources developed from all those projects. So if you are starting a new project, you don't have to reinvent, if someone else has done a similar project before. All the resources from the projects we fund are made freely available. And then the other thing you'll find on our website is sort of looking at the impact of projects. So so the question that one can ask is, well, we've funded all these 159 projects over the years. What has been the impact? So, so looking at it from two perspectives. One, what is the potential impact that the project has had? And secondly, has the project been right? So that's on the OAD project side of things. Now, I'll move on to the flagships. So the flagships are can be seen as basic. In the 2020-2030 strategy, the part of the OAD that strategy mandates OAD to develop a number of global signature projects. And these are large-scale projects that emerge from funded projects in regions. And the idea of flagships is that we can have a focus for a global rollout using regional offices, but also focus for fundraising. So what we did was we looked at input from all our regional offices. We looked at our experience from past projects, from special projects we embarked on, from all the partnerships over the years. We looked at international trends and then came up with these 5 flagship areas. Knowledge and skills from astronomy deals with data science, teacher training, schools, and so on. Technology from astronomy, looking at software, basically using astronomy technologies, dealing with water, solar, dark skies awareness. How can we use what we develop within astronomy to impact on other aspects of society? Third one was stimulating economy. So this is about astrotourism and observatories for communities and what can stem from that. Fourth is addressing inequality, gender inequality, geographic inequality, inequality in terms of mobility, people with disabilities. And the fifth one is science diplomacy. So peace, post-conflict regions, partnerships, how to use astronomy to inspire people to come together. So last year, in 2019, we identified 2 projects, two of these flagships to focus on. The one on the astrotourism and stimulating economies, the other on science diplomacy. This year, we've increased it to 3 to include knowledge and skills from astronomy. And I'll talk briefly about each of them. If you want more information, you'll find on our website a description of each of these flagship projects as well. The first one, Astronomy for Livelihood creation. So this one we partnered with the Global Himalayan Expedition. This was a project we initially funded in India that has been hugely successful. They looked at basically how do you create an opportunity in rural areas. The Global Himalayan Expedition basically looks at electrification in rural areas, and with the asset of the night sky, they came up with the idea of the Astrostays project. Astrostays is basically about a community, and you want to create livelihoods through people, tourists coming and staying in the homes of the local community. And in that way, there are a huge number of SDGs that one responds to by doing that. First of all, the funding, the money from tourists go directly into the hands of the community and is used to grow the local economy. But also that it builds expertise within that community to be able to understand astronomy, to be able to convey this to tourists that come. And in the short time that this project was implemented, there were 5 Astrostays created, 30 village women trained, 7 differently able were trained. Total revenue of 5,200. One has to bear in mind that the annual revenue in that area is just over $1,000 US. So this was quite a large amount of revenue that was generated in a matter of months. 680 travelers, 35 families impacted directly. And so we looked at this project and we said, and we decided to take this and try to expand it globally. So the next steps of this flagship is to identify potential sites and communities for setting up Astrostays, and it's multi-dimensional also, just because it goes beyond just astronomy. The second flagship, Astronomy for Humanity. So this really deals with the inspirational aspects. Now, our regional office in Europe is coordinating a project called the Pale Blue Dot. And this is a quote from Carl Sagan. It's when this image of the Earth was taken from the Voyager satellite. And the idea here is that when one sees the Earth from this perspective, then it challenges our perceptions of who we are and why we should protect this Earth and work together. And this is the principle with this flagship, is to try and spread that message all around the world. There was a project done by Kodai and Ramasamy from our office that was basically a first step to try to understand this intergroup bias and whether one can really have an impact using astronomy. You'll find this on our website as well. This was published in the CAP journal, Communicating Astronomy with the Public journal. But the important thing is how do we grab this power of astronomy and implement it in a meaningful way globally? So the next step is that we have this partnership with the Europe regional office, where the Pale Blue Dot initiative is sort of it acts as a pilot, so to speak, for the astronomy and the science diplomacy project. And the idea is to establish partners outside astronomy. For example, the UNESCO Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development. So there are institutes, there are groups around the world that use these sort of ideas and try to build them into education systems, and those are the kind of partners that we are looking for. The third flagship, which was initiated this year through the appointment of an OAD fellow in partnership with Dara Big Data, I'll mention who they are now, is about knowledge and skills for development. So how do we use this idea of astronomy skills and take that and apply it to development challenges? So the basic overview here is you want to use the knowledge and skills, but also the infrastructure. So the knowledge and skills, things like programming, data handling, data analysis, machine learning, but infrastructure such as cloud computing. So you want to use those to advance development objectives. So these could be in the form of educational programs, like advanced schools or workshops, or hackathons or competitions, which bring together the skills, and the goal is to solve development issues. So the main partner in this is Dara Big Data. Dara stands for Development in Africa with Radio Astronomy. And this project really looks at this Dara Big Data project looks at how sorry, the dog just came into the room and is trying to get my attention. So this group basically looks at using the skills from astronomy to train people, and they run workshops and activities across the continent. So together with them, we've appointed an OED fellow who is coordinating activities, looking at a hackathon and so on, which I'll mention soon. The other project that we've done in this area is a data science toolkit. So with the principle being that you have some question or problem, you have some tools such as coding tools like Python, and then we have skills. Now, how do you bring the problem, the tools, and the skills together? And this is what we did in trying to establish this data science toolkit. The idea with this toolkit is that we try to bridge between data science and astronomy. So where astronomers might have some really useful resources, we use that, we put that up on the website so that data scientists can use it, and where data scientists have good resources, astronomers can use it. So what next on this project? Basically, our OED fellow Nikita is developing best practice guidelines for the implementation of events, also to create resources, openly accessible resources for teaching and learning, and then use the OED volunteer portal to basically bring those skills from astronomers into looking at development problems. Right, so these are the OED activities since 2011. Now we've had quite a footprint globally, and this year we have another footprint that's happening in the world, which is the coronavirus disease, COVID-19. Now this is a dashboard taken from earlier today, and there's virtually no country around the world that has been spared in terms of this global pandemic. And so when we look at this map of okay, we have all these projects, these activities in different parts of the world, we still have our call for proposals, but we need to adapt. We need to adapt because this is an unprecedented time. Most countries around the world have instituted some form of lockdown, where citizens are not free to travel, where schools are closed, where public gatherings are not allowed. Now, in this time, how do we adapt our activities? We can't run schools anymore. We can't run workshops. If one wants to do a stargazing event, this has to be the global pandemic has to be taken into account. So since earlier this year, when things really started, when it was clear that this was going to have a significant effect on activities. There are several steps that we've taken to try and reinvent what astronomy for development means in this new COVID-19 era. So one that was initiated quite early on with our sister offices, the Office for Astronomy Outreach and the Office for Astronomy Education, was a call to action to the astronomy community. Basically, the idea was that astronomy has many things to contribute in this time where people are stuck at home, where schools are closed, where people might be looking for sources of education and inspiration. How do we pull all those things together? And so, I've put the full links here for the presentation so that I can leave the presentation copy to people. But you'll find links directly to all this on our website, astroforgive.org. So this was initiated early on when it was clear that that countries were being locked down, and we have a collection of resources on the website at the moment in partnership with our sister offices. Something that's currently open, deadline of 15th of May, is an extraordinary call for COVID-19 related proposals. So the idea here was that anyone can submit a proposal where they try to use some aspect of astronomy to support people or help mitigate some of the impacts of the pandemic. And these can be, far-ranging. It can be, producing resources for kids that are not going to school. It could be related to providing face masks to university students who need to use computers at the university, but something related to the challenges that are faced by this pandemic. Our usual call, the annual call for proposals, is currently open. And for this call, anyone can submit a proposal that applies astronomy to the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, all projects need to plan as well for completing the projects within this COVID-19 landscape. So a project, this is, all these projects are to be implemented in 2021. However, if things get bad in a particular country and places locked down or travel restrictions are in place, projects need to plan for those in their project proposals. Then one of our colleagues, Dr. Tawanda Chingoza, he is a development economist fellow at the OAD. He has been looking at trying to explain clearly what does this pandemic mean for development. So so he's developed a series of blogs on our website. He's been doing various searches, attending various meetings, and you'll find a series of these blogs on our website. One that I would strongly recommend is a short course on the Introduction to Development Economics for Non-Social Scientists. The idea here is that we want scientists to understand what development means. And so, so this is a general understanding of development, but in the current scenario where we have this global pandemic, how do we now reinvent the future of development? What are the main issues that we're going to be facing? As economies are collapsing around the world, what is it that we can do as the astronomy community, as the science community, to respond to these things? Then, in terms of just the general role that astronomy can play in fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic, we appointed last month a new fellow, Dr. Marie Kosaga. She's an astronomer by training, and she looks at how astronomy and other fields which are unrelated to infectious diseases, how they are stepping up to play a role in this fight. The idea is that we are really not alone. We're not, we always acknowledge that there are many people doing amazing things around the world. And so she started a blog which is evolving as we find more and more activities, which looks at how astronomy organizations, institutes are playing a role in this disease and in mitigating the effects of it. One example to give you here in South Africa is that the Square Kilometre Array project, which is our also the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, they've been asked by government to coordinate an effort on the development of ventilators and alternatives to ventilators, and so they are using their skills and technology and expertise to basically respond to the imminent increase in numbers. So I've come to the end of the talk, and I picked this up from a local newspaper that came out today, and I like the title. We can't be short-sighted about this COVID-19 crisis. The reality is that this crisis, and this picture was taken here in South Africa. We have our military trying to enforce the regulations. Everyone's wearing face masks. But this crisis is not, the effects of this crisis are going to last far beyond a few days, a few weeks, a few months. The impact that it has had on economies, the impact that it has had on households, on jobs, is huge, and it's really set back development goals. Now, how do we look? How do we look in the long term? How do we look in the medium term and plan as to how astronomy and all its aspects could play a role in mitigating the really negative effects of this pandemic? And in doing so, we need to come together as a community. We need to come together as a science community beyond astronomy, but also to connect with people dealing with development, to connect with economists and non-governmental organizations who are actually interacting with people on the ground. When we look at the world, this is sort of the satellite image of the world flattened out. There are many things going on this planet. There are many things that, there are many overlays that we can put onto this map to say, what's the reach of astronomy? What's the reach of science? What's the Human Development Index? What is the number of coronavirus cases around this world? But the biggest thing about this world is that when you look at it from space, we have no country borders. It is a place where challenges such as the coronavirus, such as the economic impacts, there's no borders. We need to come together as a global community and try to tackle this in a united way. And so, in terms of where this leaves astronomy for development and the whole idea of astronomy for development, it is really about using our global network to try and connect with people that understand the development challenges, that understand the needs of communities all around the world, and work with them to address them. The calls for proposals that we've issued, we try to ensure that these have an impact to people on the ground. With that, I'll leave my contact details, but Dr. Ani also has my contact details, and you're free to get in touch with me if you have any questions. Thank you very much. I'll stop.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kevin, for this interesting lecture. Are you hearing me?
Dr. Kevin muted himself.
Okay, yes, I can hear you. I see there's some loud music playing outside. That's why I tried to mute it a little. Can you hear me okay?
Dr. Ani.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Kevin, for this nice lecture. It's really very much interested, and it gives us very quick glance and in the meantime wide pictures about the role of the OAD, which is playing nowadays in the world. I must emphasize that OAD, which you are leading now as a director, which is affiliated to IAU, it is very important for the establishing not only for educational and outreach, but now actually it is included so many you see points, which is also help in the sustainable development of the astronomy. I must say on behalf of all gathering now, which they have seen this nice lecture, thank you very much. And I will leave now the questions for the attendees. Please just raise your hand and you are welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Ani. Dr. Marwan Qadamani. قدو. تفضل.
Thank you very much, Dr. Giffin, and thank you very much for Dr. Aini and Dr. Ibrahim for this presentation. From point of view, what about Corona COVID-19? Is it a biological war to prepare for a new area in the future, or what about? Thank you.
Hi, sorry, I just muted. Yeah, look, I've heard many sort of conspiracy theories and different ideas about where the virus came from. We don't have an opinion on this. We follow the World Health Organization in terms of their advice as to where the source of the virus and so on is. I think in terms of the world that we're living in, we really are in it's going to be a different world simply because of the impact that this virus has, regardless of where it came from. So I think that's where our focus is at the moment.
Thank you, Dr. Kevin. Dr. Makram.
Actually, I wasn't okay. Actually, as you know, Dr. Kevin, at first, thank you for your very nice lecture, and actually, I hope to invite you later on for more lecture in Egypt. Anyhow, for the moment, I am Professor Makram Ibrahim, the head of Solar and Space Research Department at Riyadh, Egypt. Actually, I want to know from you what is the direct relation, small relation, I mean very, very direct relation between the astronomy and the biology, or astronomy and the COVID-19. Thank you.
I'm gonna try and, okay. In terms of the relation between astronomy and biology, there's a huge area called astrobiology, which really looks at if we are going to explore life in other parts of the world, then other parts of the universe, then what is it that we need to understand about it? Sorry, is the background sound very loud here? There's a neighbor.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. You can hear me. So in terms of astronomers and biologists working together, that is the big area, astrobiology, and it deals with things like extremophiles, like understanding parts of the Earth where there is life, like in the middle of volcanoes and so on, or in the depths of the seas, because those are some of the conditions we might find on other planets. In terms of the direct link to COVID-19, astronomy has only so far used different skills to help the infectious disease specialists in terms of understanding, mapping, modeling the disease. So there are some links on our website to astronomy institutions that have participated in various ways to analyze data and so on. But this was only done after the pandemic, came across and spread around the world. So there's no direct link in terms of the science of astronomy and the virus, but there is a link between individuals who use their astronomy skills, astronomers who are helping to model and to understand the virus better.
All right, thank you.
Is there any question?
For me, it's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Makram. I see there's no many more questions.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much for everyone to listen to me, and thank you again, Dr. Ani, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Kevin. So kind of you. We were very much actually enjoying your lecture, and I hope that next time also we will have another lecture from your side. Please accept our regards and high gratitudes from Jordan and from all Arab countries whose, you see there are many people now from Kazakhstan, you see from Finisov Optical Telescope, they are participating now. And also we have many participants from outside Arab countries and outside of Jordan, from different Arab countries, from Syria, and also from Egypt. They are welcoming you again. And thank you, Dr. Kevin, for your kind and giving us your valuable time to give us this actually important lecture. And we hope that we'll continue with you this kind of cooperation. And thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.